compromise my chances of obtaining permanent residency in Canada.
What?
This video may also answer the question that you may have, which is 1 year studies enough for PR? As always, I'll give a balanced view of this topic. That way you can weigh out if this pathway is for you or not. So let's jump right into it. So, story time. Just to reiterate, I started my journey to Canada as a student in September 2017. I studied a 1 year certificate program and took up communication design essentials at PCIT. Outside of school, I worked part-time as a sales associate in retail stores and made sure I only worked 20 hours per week as a full-time student. And the reason for that is to respect the conditions stated on my study permit. I completed my program in 2018 and afterwards applied for a postgraduate work permit. While waiting for a PGWP, I was fortunate enough to land a job and work immediately after studies. For those that don't know, IRCC states that you can work full-time while waiting for a decision on your PGWP. However, there are conditions you must meet before you are able to do this. You can work full-time while waiting for a decision on your postgrad work permit application if at the time you submitted your application, you 1. Had a valid study permit, 2nd, completed your program of study, 3rd, were eligible to work off campus without a permit, and lastly, did not work off campus for more than 20 hours a week during academic sessions. I met all of these conditions and hence was permitted to work full-time while waiting. I worked a full-time position as a program assistant at a nonprofit organization. I was very fortunate that the first job that I landed right after graduation also happened to be a skilled job. It was a NOC level B or a technical skilled job. Working a skilled job is very important as this is one of the requirements that you need to qualify for the Express Entry program. Eventually, my postgrad work permit was approved on January 2019. Guys, I submitted my PGWP application on October 2018. That means I had 3 months additional to work a skilled job here in Canada. Those 3 months were valuable time for me to be included in more Express Entry draws while here in Canada. I met the minimum requirements for Express Entry on October 2019. At this point, I had a valid IELTS exam and 1 year skilled work experience in Canada. For those wondering, this was my IELTS score when I submitted my Express Entry profile. Upon submission, my profile was updated on the same day, and I found out that my CRS score was 450 points. I qualified under the Canadian Experience Class and Federal Skilled Workers Program when I submitted my Express Entry profile. This was great news since the more programs you qualify for under Express Entry, the more chances of being selected for PR. Timing-wise, however, I was feeling the pressure, and here's why. Since I only studied a 1 year program, I was also only issued a 1 year PGWP. Take note, applicants can only receive 1 postgraduate work permit in their lifetime. PGWP is only offered or issued once in your life, so once you get it, that's it. You cannot reapply for a PGWP after being issued one. That's why most people do 2 year programs or like 1+1 programs. That way they can maximize the length of their PGWP. But anyway, moving on, when I met the requirements for Express Entry in October 2019, I had a postgrad work permit that was about to expire in 3 months on January 2020. That means I only had 3 months left to be invited to apply for PR before my status expires. The first Express Entry that I was part of happened on October 30th, 2019, and the CRS cutoff score at that time was 475 points. My score was 450 points, which is definitely far from getting an ITA. With 3 months left of having a valid status here in Canada, I was getting pretty scared and nervous. It's too little time for me to take up French as a second language. I retook my IELTS exam, but unfortunately my CRS score did not change. I went to my employer for PNP or an LMIA, but both were shut down due to organizational challenges, which I understood. I even applied to other jobs, but my status was always a point of concern at every interview. Basically, I was stuck and I had nowhere else to go. Some of you were even asking me why I applied to stay in Canada on a visitor record. And well, this answers your question. I tried, but my efforts were not enough in the given time I had left. So sadly, I had to stay in Canada on a visitor record and hopefully wait for an ITA to come my way. During these times, I was completely lost and directionless in life. I was buying time to stay in Canada, but I had no clue where it would lead to. Take note, as a visitor, you're not allowed to study nor work while in Canada. I was basically a vegetable, which is why I had to set a deadline for myself. If nothing happens during my stay in Canada as a visitor, I am boarding that plane to go back home. I accepted my fate with grace because I do understand that immigration is not a right, it's a privilege. But fortunately, and thanks again, Lord, I got an ITA or I received my invitation to apply for PR on May 14th, 2020, just a month before my flight back to Manila. It was a straight super clutch performance and saved by the bell type of feeling. It was as if I was given another shot at life. I submitted my PR application right away as soon as I had everything complete and ready. I waited 8 months for a decision while on a visitor record, suffered a little bit mentally and financially, but fast forward to Feb 2021, I got my PR approved. It still feels unreal, and I'm actually still in disbelief, but I'm so grateful that I can officially call myself a permanent resident of Canada. Now, to answer your question, is 1 year of studies enough for PR? The short answer is it's risky, but possible. My life story is one example of how risky it can be. Timing and luck were a huge factor to my PR success. If I had not studied and graduated a particular month and year, if I had not worked a skilled job right away after graduation, if I had not submitted my Express Entry profile right away and qualified under CEC, and moreover, if COVID had not happened, I would not be where I am today. There are just too many what ifs in my scenario, and they had to align perfectly for me to get my PR. So, yeah, I consider my situation to be an exceptional example. Should you bank on chance when making a major life decision? No. That is why most people, including myself, advocate for studying a program of at least 2 years in Canada. That way, you may be eligible for a 3 year postgrad work permit. With this, you have more time to study and gain skilled work experience in Canada, which in effect increases your score for express entry and also increases your chances for getting an ITA. Now, I understand that finances may be an issue when pursuing a longer program. After all, international students pay a hefty price for education here in Canada, approximately 15,000 to 30,000 Canadian dollars per year, which is why I understand why some of you are thinking of taking a 1 year program. However, if finances were a huge problem to you at the start, it will also be a problem to you later on. So it's best to save enough funds before embarking on this adventure. By taking a 1 year program, you think you are saving money, but in reality, it may cost you more in the long run. Take myself as an example. Finances didn't go away when I took up a 1 year program in Canada. It was just allocated elsewhere. I was waiting in Canada on a visitor status for over a year. The expenses racked up real quick, and I don't want you guys to go through what I went through, which is why I'm sharing the story with you all. So maybe your next question is, how will I know if taking a one-year program is for me or not? Well, in order to answer this question, we have to work backwards. Okay, so before you begin your journey, you should calculate your future CRS score to give you an idea on where you stand and how close you are to an ITA after 1 year of studies and hopefully after 1 year of skilled work experience here in Canada. IRCC has a CRS calculator tool. This tool will ask you a series of questions, and at the end, you will find out your CRS score. I will link this tool in the description box below for your reference. Now, use this tool to compute your future CRS score. And before we are able to do that, we have to make a couple assumptions. Number one, estimate your English test scores and keep it realistic. Two, assume that you already have the bare minimum of 1 year study experience in Canada and hopefully also 1 year of skilled work experience here in Canada. Third, you also have to factor in age because by the time that you qualify for express entry, you're already older by at least 1 year if you're aiming to qualify for FSW only and you basically took that 1 year program to bump up your score by a bit. Or you're older by at least 2 years if you're aiming for CEC, and that means you have 1 year studies and 1 year skilled work experience here in Canada. For the other questions found in this tool, just answer them as you would, and when you reach the end, click calculate your score to see your results, or rather, future results. The next step is very important, so please pay attention. Once you get your future CRS score, you should compare it with the last pre-COVID express entry draw. The reason for that is because IRCC selected mostly CEC and PNP applicants during COVID, which greatly impacted the scores to the benefit of this small group. I don't think that IRCC will make the same selection, and this will impact the CRS score when COVID is under control. I also want you to compare it with the pre-COVID express entry draw because mainly when you qualify for express entry, it's likely that COVID will have a lesser influence to the selection and in effect the CRS cutoff scores. Now, for instructional purposes, I'll be referring to my screen over here, and we can take my future hypothetical CRS score of 465. This is the answer I got from answering the tool, and we will compare this to the pre-COVID CRS cutoff score. Okay, let's take March 4th as the most recent pre-COVID express entry draw. It was an all-program draw with a cutoff score of 471 points. Based on that, my score is lower by 6 points, which means I will not get an ITA. Assuming I only had 3 months left to stay in Canada, I would be scrambling to improve my score and can only hope that the scores go down in the near future. For a better picture, we can even take a look further back from October 30th, 2019 to March 4th, 2020. This period has the most realistic CRS cutoff scores prior to COVID. During this period, it was mostly an all-program draw occurring, meaning CEC and FSW were also part of these draws. And as you can see, the lowest CRS cutoff score during that time was 469, and the highest was 475. Now, comparing that to my score of 465, I would still not get an ITA. I don't think that you want to be in this position with time running out. So yeah, guys, for those with lower scores, it's riskier for you guys to take up a 1 year program. Now, what is considered an acceptable range? If your future score is lower by 5 points or less from the pre-COVID trend, I'd say you're somewhat in a decent position. But if your score is lower by 6 to 10 points, you are in a risky position because it's usually hard to gain this much points in a short period of time. And if your score is lower by more than 10 points, sorry to say this, but you are in the danger zone. I don't mean to sound pessimist. I'm more realist if anything because I've observed the 3 previous years for the CRS cutoff score and it's actually here. And the trend has been increasing. You can check it out and see for yourself. I am also factoring in risk because this is a one-shot deal. Obviously, it's difficult to make an accurate prediction. I'm not a fortune teller. And secondly, everyone has a unique CRS score based on your background. Moreover, there are other factors that can affect your chances of getting PR and even other PR programs that you may qualify for. So yeah, please take my analysis with a grain of salt. Anyway, just play with the CRS tool and see which areas you can improve on. Always keep up to date with the latest draw, as this may help you understand the immigration trend, and this can also give you an idea on how to strategize and also increase your chances for PR. Let's now move on to the takeaways. Number one, when it comes to immigration, like everything else in life, there are risks. One form is taking the study to PR pathway. Again, studying a 1 year program is risky. However, risk can be minimized by computing your score before coming to Canada and comparing it to the most realistic express entry draw or trend. If you have a high enough score, then you are in a good position to take this route. But if your score is low or not enough, then consider applying to a minimum 2 year program in Canada. That way, you may be eligible for a 3 year post-grad work permit. This should buy you more time to increase your score for the express entry and increase your chances of getting an ITA. Or consider becoming eligible for other PR programs aside from express entry in order to maximize your chances of obtaining PR. Number two, with immigration, finances are unavoidable. You either pay upfront or you pay in the long run. But if you position yourself in a spot where finances are manageable before beginning your journey, then this at least makes the rest of your journey in Canada comfortable and less stressful. Third and lastly, luck can be on your side. Whether it's with COVID's help that got you an ITA, or getting a support from your employer through PNP or an LMIA, or qualifying for various other programs that eventually lead you to PR, luck can be a deciding factor to get you there. But please understand that luck is not the be all and end all solution for immigration. At the end of the day, immigration should be based on merit and hard work. So there you have it, folks. I hope this video was able to shed light in helping you decide if this pathway is for you or not. And if you find it helpful or useful, I would really appreciate it if you could please comment down below or subscribe to my channel. Thank you once again for your time. Be safe and be kind. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.
Today, in this video I'm going to talk about Canada Immigration New Update. I'm going to give you a complete update about more low-skilled workers should become permanent residents. Study says, if you are interested in this topic, please watch till the end of this video for latest immigration updates and news. Please like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell icon. Let's get into the video. Canada should do more to retain lower-skilled temporary residents in Canada, according to a Ryerson University policy brief. The brief was published by the Canada Excellence Research Chair, CERC, in Migration and Integration. The CERC is a program that supports Canadian universities by awarding world-renowned researchers up to $1 million to establish research projects. The CERC in Migration and Integration at Ryerson University is the first CERC awarded to the university. Every year, Canada welcomes over 350,000 new permanent residents. Around two-thirds had lived in Canada temporarily beforehand. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, Canada is committed to welcoming large numbers of new immigrants. There are also around 600,000 temporary residents who come to Canada annually. Most of those who become permanent residents, however, work in what are called highly skilled occupations. Temporary residents in so-called low-skilled occupations have less opportunities to transition to permanent residence. The COVID-19 pandemic has further highlighted the importance of low-skilled workers to the economy. These workers took jobs like grocery store clerks, hospital cleaners, and farm workers. Demand for lower-skilled jobs is also expected to grow as a consequence of increased demand for labor over the next decade. Although this growth is projected to unfold at a lower rate than high-skilled jobs projected, sectors such as childcare, family services, commercial transportation, food services, and building construction are projected to grow over the next 10 years. Also, Canada's aging population will increase demand for health care and social services as baby boomers reach retirement age. This increasing demand for lower-skilled jobs may be due to Canadian-born workers' reluctance to fill these positions. Many high-skilled permanent residents end up with lower-skilled jobs because of this high demand. What current immigration programs target lower-skilled workers? The British Columbia Provincial Nominee Program, BCPNP, regularly invites a number of low-skilled workers to apply for provincial nomination for permanent residence. This is through the entry-level and semi-skilled worker category. The in-demand skills stream in Ontario provides some workers in high-need occupations a pathway to permanent residence. The Atlantic Immigration Pilot is another option for lower-skilled workers who wish to immigrate to any one of Canada's Atlantic provinces, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, and Labrador, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island. In addition, the Agri-Food Immigration Pilot provides 2,750 workers in the agriculture and agri-food industries a pathway to permanent residence. One common aspect of these programs that target low-skilled workers is that they are small in scale. For this reason, the policy brief calls for expanding the two-step immigration system to include lower-skilled residents. The two-step immigration system refers to those who come to Canada temporarily and then transition into permanent residence. Canada recently announced 6 new immigration programs for temporary foreign workers, including workers in healthcare, other essential workers, international graduates, and French-speaking workers and graduates. Although these new programs are time-limited, the policy brief describes them as being a step in the right direction. Canada should offer more options for lower-skilled workers. The policy brief recommends that Canada create a pathway to permanent residence for lower-skilled temporary workers that is ongoing, and that accepts a large volume of applicants. It is also recommended that Canada allocates between 10 and 20% of economic class applicants to lower-skilled workers, and invites eligible temporary foreign workers to apply for permanent residence. In addition, Canada is encouraged to introduce new policies that help protect foreign domestic workers from a drop in wages. Canada should also invest in settlement services for temporary foreign workers who are eligible to transition to permanent residence. Finally, Canada is encouraged to communicate the economic contribution of low-skilled workers to the Canadian public to address any concerns or anti-immigration sentiment that may arise as a result. Hopefully the details and information presented in this video is helpful. Canada Immigration News Channel will be releasing a new video when new information is available on any of these updates or requirements. If you have not subscribed, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to click on that notifications bell icon. See you sooner in next new immigration video.
Hi guys, it's Rachel. In my previous video, I talked about my journey to PR. I also mentioned that taking a one-year program was not my best move. As promised, I will elaborate on the reasons on how taking a one-year program almost compromised my chances of obtaining permanent residency in Canada.
What?
This video may also answer the question that you may have, which is 1 year studies enough for PR? As always, I'll give a balanced view of this topic. That way you can weigh out if this pathway is for you or not. So let's jump right into it. So, story time. Just to reiterate, I started my journey to Canada as a student in September 2017. I studied a one-year certificate program and took up Communication Design Essentials at BCIT. Outside of school, I worked part-time as a sales associate in retail stores and made sure I only worked 20 hours per week as a full-time student. And the reason for that is to respect the conditions stated on my study permit. I completed my program in 2018 and afterwards applied for a postgraduate work permit. While waiting for a PGWP, I was fortunate enough to land a job and work immediately after studies. For those that don't know, IRCC states that you can work full time while waiting for a decision on your PG. Decision on your PGW.
Today, in this video I'm going to talk about Canada immigration new update. In this video I'm going to talk about study in Canada. IRCC expands student direct stream, SDS, to 7 new countries. If you are interested in this topic, please watch till the end of this video for latest immigration updates and news. Please like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell icon. Let's get into the video. Brazil, Colombia, and Peru are among 7 new countries that are now included in Canada's Fast Track program for international students. Canada has expanded its Fast Track program for international students to 7 new countries. This was announced today by Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada. The countries are Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Antigua and Barbuda, Costa Rica, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Student Direct Stream, SDS, offers expedited study permit processing to those looking to study at a Canadian Designated Learning Institution, DLI. Potential international students to Canada first need to receive a letter of acceptance, LOA, from a DLI. DLIs are universities, colleges, and other post-secondary educational institutions in Canada that are authorized by the government to welcome international students. Once a candidate receives an LOA, they then need to submit a study permit application to the Department of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, IRCC. The purpose of the study permit is to authorize an individual to move to Canada to pursue their education. Study permit processing varies by each country, but it can take several months. The benefit of the SDS is that eligible participants can get their study permit application processed by IRCC within 20 calendar days on average. IRCC launched the SDS in 2018 to students from India, China, the Philippines, and Vietnam. It expanded the program in 2019 to include Pakistan, Senegal, and Morocco. Those from the above 14 countries wishing to apply for a study permit under the SDS need to meet the following criteria. Language test. They must have obtained a score of at least 6.0 on the IELTS, either IELTS Academic or IELTS General Training, on each skill: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Francophone candidates need to obtain a Canadian Language Benchmark, CLB, equivalent of 7 in each skill on the test evaluation de français. Proof of a guaranteed investment certificate of at least 10,000 Canadian dollars. This needs to be from an eligible Canadian financial institution. Proof of full payment of tuition for the candidate's first year. letter of acceptance from a Canadian designated learning institution, most recent educational transcript, proof of upfront medical exam. This requirement is for applicants who have lived or traveled for 6 months in designated countries or territories and or their field of study requires an upfront medical exam. Prior to the coronavirus pandemic, Canada hosted a record 642,000 international students in 2019. Among the top 15 source countries, India, China, Vietnam, Brazil, Colombia, and Morocco are SDS participants. Among today's additions to the SDS, Brazil, Colombia, and Peru are likely to have the most significant impact on international student enrollment in Canada. Canada's population of Brazilian students has increased nearly tenfold over the last 2 decades, while the Colombian student population has nearly quadrupled. Peru's student population has increased fivefold since 2000. IRCC notes that nearly 16,000 study permits were issued to residents of the 7 new SDS countries in 2019, of which about 10,000 went to those in Brazil and some 4,400 to students from Colombia. For international students, the SDS is beneficial in that it offers greater certainty their study permit application will be approved, and in a timely fashion. For IRCC and DLIs, the SDS is beneficial in that it provides greater certainty candidates are genuinely interested in pursuing education in Canada, and not using education as a loophole to enter Canada for alternative purposes, for example, to enter the Canadian labor market. Hopefully the details and information as presented in this video is helpful. Canada Immigration News Channel will be releasing a new video when new information is available on any of these updates or requirements. If you have not subscribed, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to click on that notifications bell icon. See you sooner in next new immigration video.
Hi, welcome back to Bani Abroad. This video is going to be really insightful because this guy right here, Ashish, he hasn't graduated yet, but he has